Revolution Pro Wrestling fans, we hope you had a fantastic New Year celebration as we jump into our first video rundown of 2023 for our first show of 2023 live in London 69, which is happening this Sunday live from our favorite venue in London, the 229. Andy, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's crazy, isn't it, that we're already talking about the first show of 2023 already. But we rest for no one. We move on, and it's an exciting time to be involved in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And once again, it seems like at the start of every year I say against adversity, but since 2020, really, it feels like we've been fighting an uphill battle and we've been fighting against it. But every year we're coming out stronger and stronger and stronger. And I feel more confident than ever that 2023 is going to be more of the same, more improvement, more improvement, more growth. And I'm excited about what's to come, and we're going to look to have a statement show this Sunday at the 229. And I do want to throw in a quick plug for those season tickets as well, because of course if you get yourself to revolutionprowrestling.com, it's where you get all your tickets for all RevPro events moving forward. No more gigantics, literally direct through revolutionprowrestling.com. You can get all your tickets, including the season ticket, which gives you access to all 12 events at the 229 with a minimum saving of £55. I want to stress that it's a minimum saving because, for example, last year when we bought in Minoru Suzuki, the tickets were more expensive. We've done it before when we had Sonada compete, the tickets were more expensive. So it's the best value in all of professional wrestling. And if you can't attend a show, you can just give your ticket to someone else for that show. Doesn't matter. All right. So yeah, but you've got to let us know. But like I say, best value in all of professional wrestling, that season ticket available from revolutionprowrestling.com right now.
Absolutely, the best value your money can get in BritRes. And speaking of 2023 being an absolutely huge year for Revolution Pro Wrestling, we're kicking off with one of the biggest cards we've seen at the 229. 8 matches we're going to have on Sunday. Each one promises to be a banger, so I'm just going to pick one at random and let's jump in. So this match was actually meant to happen at Seasons Beatings, our last show of 2022, but it's going to happen this Sunday. It's the Legions, Gideon Gray, taking on Zach Knight, who has promised to not let the mistakes of 2022 haunt him. He says 2023 is going to be his year, so this one's going to be quite a hard-hitting affair.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was a hell of a contest that Zach Knight had at Seasons Beatings against Double Action Sean Action Jackson. It was you really saw like a change in attitude from Zach Knight. He seemed a lot more focused, ready to move on early, and he's going to look to continue to build upon that momentum he built at Seasons Beatings and take it into this contest with Gideon Gray. Of course, we've already discussed the frustrations that Zach Knight has with Gideon, and if Gideon's able to do one thing, that's press another human being's buttons. The game of mental warfare, a lot of Gideon's matches and the Legion's matches, and indeed the United Empire's matches, are won before the competitors have even entered the ring, thanks to that that mental warfare that Gideon Gray's instilled upon his Legion. And I think that this is going to be another example of that. And yeah, Gideon's going to want to try and stay out of the reach of Zach Knight, a prize fighter, and he has that. He's rangy, and he's great standing, great striking. Got to watch out for those fists. Gideon though needs to get up close to Zach and try and nullify the swing, the force behind those strikes, and try and grapple with him because Gideon's one of the most underrated technicians, I'm going to say, in the whole world of professional wrestling. So it's going to be an intriguing styles clash and as a classic game of human chess. I'm interested to see how it goes. And again, we've spoken time and time again about Zach Knight. Can he ride the wave of emotions? Because we know technically, he's proficient. We know he has very few holes in his game, but sometimes he fights with his heart on his sleeve too much. And to some people that can be a positive, to some people that can be a detriment. So we're going to see how it goes this Sunday when Gideon Gray, he's overcome his bout of the sniffles. He assures me he's ready to go, and it's going to be a huge contest this Sunday.
It sure is, Andy. And speaking of people who maybe want to leave 2022 in the past, someone we haven't seen compete in RevPro since your call, it's Connor Mills. New look, new attitude. I'm sure he's seething after his loss to Michael Oku at Uprising 2022, and he'll be taking on David Francisco. And I wouldn't want to be David Francisco getting into that ring for Mills' first match of 2023.
Yeah, I feel like for David Francisco, he's always going to take the match. It doesn't matter who he's against. He's not the type of guy who's going to back down from a challenge. And he does see every single contest as a challenge. We saw him step up to Ricky Knight Jr. A few months back, a contest which saw him break his arm. We saw him step up against Lucian Phillips, refusing to be bullied by him, and he's going to refuse to be bullied by Connor Mills as well. So, just another great test for David Francisco as we start 2023. And you are right. It is the first time we've seen Connor Mills since York Hall wanted to take some time away from a spotlight, if you will, maybe to reassess things. As you say, new look. I think my broadcast colleague Kelly Marshall said, when you cut your hair, it's cutting away the past. I'd never heard that one before, but I think that was really symbolic from Connor Mills. But I think that past came back to haunt him and bite him at Uprising when Michael Oku defeated him. How does Connor Mills progress from here? It's going to be very interesting to see. There's question marks over Mills. Can he win the big one? He said he wanted to be out of the shadow of Michael Oku, but now the shadow of Michael Oku almost is going to loom over him forever, because as Michael Oku has said, as far as he's concerned, it was one and done, him and Mills, in that personal fight at York Hall Bethnal Green. So not even a chance for Connor really to kind of get his revenge, so to speak. So, like I say, it's going to be interesting to see the tact he takes. Is he going to try and, avenge this loss against Michael Oku? Or is he just going to move on? And I think he would be wise to move on, because I think it's too personal. Him and Michael Oku's too personal. There's too much involved. We spoke earlier about Zach Knight letting emotions get the better of him. We've not seen that from Connor Mills, but if he doesn't move on, it's going to be a real sign that, the emotions perhaps have gotten the better of him, which is quite ironic considering the mind games he played with Michael Oku in the lead up to that clash at Uprising.
Yeah, for everyone involved's sake, I hope that Mills has some new goals and heads down a new path in 2023. And continuing on with the fallout from Uprising 2022, we have the undisputed British Cruiserweight champion, Robbie X, defending his championship against the former champion, the champion who lost it in that incredible elimination four-way at York Hall, the former champion, Luke Jacobs.
Yeah, look, Robbie X is looking to eliminate any question marks over his head, over his championship reign, any asterisks, so to speak. We know Luke Jacobs was eliminated from that contest. But it was ultimately Will Caven who Robbie X defeated to become the undisputed British Cruiserweight champion. There, of course, was question marks about Will Caven and Robbie X, with Caven being so successful in singles competition against Robbie X. And Robbie X answered all those questions at Seasons Beatings when he defeated Will Caven 2-0 in that main event of Seasons Beatings, of course, which you can see on RevProOnDemand.com right now. But the big question is, can Robbie X get past Luke Jacobs in singles competition? Their previous outing at York Hall, it was Luke Jacobs who was the victor, and it was that match which really gave him the impetus to kick on and become the undisputed British Cruiserweight champion. He's not going to be happy with the way he lost the gold. Rebounded against Miles Kamen with an impressive victory. Still question marks with Luke Jacobs. 2023, the year ahead. Does he go back to that tag team with Ethan Allen? Does he try to stay in the cruiserweight division, control that weight? He's literally teetering on the edge all the time. Or does he make the jump into the heavyweight division? The way this contest goes could dictate that answer for Luke Jacobs, but it's a real opportunity for Jacobs. The best way to rebound from a loss is avenging that loss. And that's his opportunity to do it against Robbie X and get back that championship gold he felt he never should have lost. I think Michael Oku, again, we're speaking a lot about that name, Michael Oku, but that says a lot about Oku and the legacy that he's carved to himself in Revolution Pro Wrestling. But what Michael Oku's done with that Cruiserweight Championship belt is make it so important. He was the longest reigning and most defending. We know Luke Jacobs set that bar. He said, I'm going to become the most defending champion. And defended, but he was unable to get to that record of 15 championship defenses that Michael Oku was capable of. And we know Robbie X is going to want to do just that as well. So he's got one defense under his belt. Will this be number 2? He calls himself the king of the cruiserweights. You know, he's been saying for a long time he's the uncrowned champion. That championship belt around his waist is the validation that he so desired, and many people felt he deserved as well, given the fact that he was just one of wrestling's best kept secrets for so long. And he's someone who's put in the graft, he's put in the hard work for a long, long time. And yeah, this contest against Luke Jacobs is Robbie X's opportunity to prove that he is very much the real deal, and to say, listen, I'm going to have a history-making championship run. So this is his chance. It's a pick'em contest, if you ask me. But I'm excited to see it. 2 of the best wrestlers in the world, and we get the privilege of watching it live this Sunday.
Absolutely. I think there's a high chance that will be the match that steals the show. So that's one championship that will be on the line this Sunday. And I believe we're revealing today that we advertised Dani Luna was going to be in action, but we can now reveal that she has insisted that she defends her Southside Women's Championship this Sunday. So, Andy Corden, would you like to reveal who she'll be defending her title against?
Yeah, she's going to be competing against Maya Matthews, and it's an opportunity for Maya Matthews. We know that Matthews fought against Luna a couple of months back in Southampton when Dani Luna returned to Revolution Pro Wrestling, but that was a match that Maya Matthews was preparing to compete against her mentor, Alex Windsor. And Maya Matthews feels there was a sense of naivety perhaps in that contest. If you look back at the match, there was a key moment where it looked like there was going to be a handshake, but Dani Luna was just all over Maya Matthews from that point onwards. And like I say, like a sense of naivety. And that led to the leg injury from Maya Matthews, which in turn essentially led to her downfall in that contest. So, Maya Matthews, one of these competitors who's all about win or learn, win or learn. We wanted to give her another opportunity, another crack at Dani Luna, not necessarily for that Southside Women's Championship, but again, that's something that Dani Luna has insisted, because I think Dani Luna has got a chip on the shoulder, in the sense we know that Alex Windsor is the undisputed British Women's Champion, but inactive at the moment, having just undergone knee surgery. We're expecting her back in the first half of 2023, but I think that Dani Luna is very upset that we never made the decision to strip Alex Windsor of that championship, and instead have, elected to wait, as it's almost precedent was set with Kanji and then Alex Windsor. Where we're going to unify these championships eventually. But I don't think that Dani Luna likes that fact, and she feels that Alex Windsor's shadow looms over her reign as champion. So many men and women fighting for legacy. I think that ultimately, I think people are realizing how much legacy means to their careers. They don't want to be a forgotten part of history. They want to be remembered for their positive contributions to the sport of professional wrestling, and they really want to make their mark on each of their respective divisions. And I think that they feel more so than ever what a special time this is. I think this is a time we're going to look back on in years to come as a very special time in British wrestling, and in Revolution Pro Wrestling specifically. And they all want to be the poster boy or girl of this time. And Dani Luna, her way, is going to be racking up those championship defenses and proving she's a fighting champion, and proving she's a real deal month in, month out. And don't forget, Dani Luna is really just getting started again, because she was inactive for so long. Even before her knee injury, she was wrestling very rarely, and now she's more active than she's been in a very, very long time. And the more active she gets, the more dangerous she's going to get. So this could present Maya Matthews' best opportunity of defeating Dani Luna. So we'll see what happens. But, it's going to be an intriguing contest between 2 very, very capable women.
Absolutely. And jumping from our women's division to our tag team division, we have 2 fantastic contests signed for this Sunday. The first of which is the Smoking Aces, who we haven't seen for a while in Revolution Pro Wrestling, taking on Sunshine Machine.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this contest is going to be great. 2 formidable teams, two tag teams which are real tag teams. You know, they train together, they strategize together, they travel together. You know, they're real tag teams and not thrown together teams. They're real friends in real life. You know, they're not colleagues, they're friends. You know, and it's that bond which makes these matches so exciting, because they absolutely have each other's back to the bitter end. You know, for Smoking Aces, this is a chance for them to really prove that they're the real deal against a team which have been, you know, you think about the RevPro tag team division since 2021, you know, when we got back to business, you know, and you think about Sunshine Machine, you think about all those big York Hall nights that Sunshine Machine had, you think about that contest against Aussie Open, you think about the contest against the Velocities, and of course, one that they will want to forget, that bloody, brutal street fight against the Greedy Souls. And really, I think that Sunshine Machine, I think it could be argued they perhaps took their eye off the ball in the close of 2022. Look at from the anniversary show to the end of 2022, you know, after that contest with Velocities, Sunshine Machine, in my opinion, they seem to dip off a little bit, you know, and I think that that was echoed in the fact that they lost those undisputed British Tag Team Championships unexpectedly to the Greedy Souls because they'd taken their eye off the game, you know. And Sunshine Machine, they know what they need to do to get back to the top of the mountain, but rebounding from a defeat like the defeat they had at the hands of Greedy Souls is something which is going to be very, very hard for them. So, you know, they're more focused and determined than ever, but at the same time, have they got that mental block? Are they going to be the same? They're still going to be feeling the physical toll that that match had on their bodies as well. So, in that respect, I don't want to say it's must win, but I want to say the performance that Sunshine Machine put in on Sunday is going to be very telling, perhaps, as to how their 2023 may shake out. And then on the other side of things, you've got Smoking Aces, a team that came into Revolution Pro Wrestling with a lot of fanfare, and they're a team that suffered when they first came in. You know, they felt that adrenaline dump that sometimes you feel when you hype yourself up for this situation. Their first match in was against Aussie Open, and they weren't the Smoking Aces that, you know, were touted to us, you know. And the more matches they've had in Rev Pro, the more they've grown into that tag team. They showed glimpses of it in their first couple of contests, and it wasn't really until I'm going to say after the Great British Tag League they really started to shine. And I feel that you know, really Smoking Aces, now there's no excuses, you know. They're used to the bigger ring now. They're used to the pressure. They're used to the atmosphere. You know, they're used to the locker room, and they wouldn't want it any other way. You know, they want the best teams. They don't want there to be question marks. Yeah, well, you beat a young tag team. You beat a team which haven't been teaming together consistently. Smoking Aces want the very best. And I think it can't be argued that TK Cooper and Chuck Mambo are indeed, on their day, the very best. They've proven it time and time again in the past, and they're going to look to start proving it again in 2023. So an exciting match between two very exciting tag teams. I think, you know, it's very difficult to pick a winner, but I think it's going to be the approach which both teams take, which is going to determine who wins and loses this contest. Because, you know, attribute-wise, skill-wise, I think they're very even teams, experience-wise as well. So very little to pick between the two. So I just think it's the way they approach this contest this Sunday, and that's something that I'm going to be looking for when I'm sat behind the announce desk.
And that could very well dictate both teams' success going into the rest of this year. No one wants to kick off the year with a loss. And carrying on with our tag team division, the reigning undisputed British tag team champions, the Greedy Souls, Brendan White and Danny Jones, will be taking on Lycos Gym.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, look, the Greedy Souls, they proved a point, didn't they, at York Hall? I think that they had that chip on their shoulder. They really felt like they had something to prove. And for my money, they proved it at York Hall. You know, they picked up another win at Seasons Beatings. Some might say they're on a bit of a roll. You know, again, they want to continue proving this is a non-title match. It's a big opportunity for Lycos Gym to get themselves in the title hunt, really to cut to the front of the queue. Again, Lycos Gym are a completely different proposition to many of the other teams that that Greedy Souls have faced. I mean, look, Greedy Souls are no doubt going to have the power edge in the contest, but Lycos Gym, they're quick and they're sneaky and they're not afraid to bend and, dare I say, break the rules either. Tag team specialists again, much like the Greedy Souls, and Lycos Gym are really going to look to inject their brand of professional wrestling into this tag team division. Look, and I've said, like, when Lycos Gym forget about the shenanigans, they're actually a very good tag team. But I think they let themselves down on too many occasions by dipping into that bag of tricks, as Lycos likes to call it. They had fared very, very well against then tag team champion Sunshine Machine. And when it got to that championship match at Summer Sizzler, which was the last time we saw Lycos Gym compete in tag team competition, they fell at that last hurdle. And you can bet that they've been thinking about that match ever since. And they've been thinking about how they can right that wrong and how they can get back to the top of the Revolution Pro Wrestling tag team division. So, I think that this is a big chance for Lycos Gym to show us what they're all about. But in equal measures, it's a good chance for Greedy Souls to continue this run that they're on at the moment, and to continue to demonstrate to people that they are the very real deal when it comes to tag team wrestling. I still think there's a lot to come from the Greedy Souls. I still think the Greedy Souls have got a lot more places that they can go as a team, and I think the Greedy Souls are just finding out for themselves. And I think that contest that they had against Sunshine Machine, I think that surprised them just as much as it surprised the fans watching and Sunshine Machine as to the lengths they go to win a professional wrestling match. And I think when you've experienced the battleground like that, you're changed men. And I think Greedy Soul is going to come into this contest as changed men. I think it could be a long night for Lycos Gym, or a very short night for Lycos Gym, if Greedy Souls can get their hands on them very quickly. So again, contrasting styles in this one, not so evenly matched. Like in that previous tag match, I guess size wise, the teams are the same. Very clear difference in this contest. So I expect it to be fought very differently to the other tag team match. And hey, that's what great professional wrestling is all about. Styles make matches, and sometimes it's great having two styles which are very similar to one another. And it's also great seeing those contrasting styles against one another. And ultimately, that's what makes shows interesting, by seeing that variety of styles across a show. So two tag team matches, two very different tag team matches, both of which I'm very excited to see.
Absolutely. I can't wait to see both those tag team matches. As you said, we have such variety in every division in RevPro and in every match. We have two more singles matches to go through, and one of my favorite wrestlers on the planet to watch, LA Dojo's Gabriel Kidd taking on JJ Gale. And you talk about variety, clash of styles. We have the powerhouse, the Hoss, Gabriel Kidd taking on that high-flying ability of JJ Gale. But JJ Gale, someone who we've seen put on a lot of muscle in the last 2 years. I am very excited for this contest.
Absolutely. JJ Gale has been undergoing a transformation before our very, very eyes. And I think really for JJ Gale, things started to clear. I think the pandemic was perhaps the biggest detriment to JJ Gale's advancement as a professional wrestler, because I feel that when we came back with those empty arena shows, he was one of the standouts. And I dare say that if he was able to continue competing, continue training, because you got to remember that the training schools were closed until after the first set of Epic Encounters shows, and you saw a drastic improvement on the guys as those events went on, because ultimately the only way you stay at the top of your game is to stay sharp, so to stay active. And JJ Gale wasn't able to do that. And he's been scary good for a very long time, and he's getting better and better and better. I think that he's like JJ Gale's one of these guys who likes to test himself against the very best. I think he could have padded his record a lot better if he had taken on lower level of competition, but he's challenged himself at the high end, whilst at the same time continuing to evolve himself. Like you say, continuing to add muscle. He's doing it the right way, though. He's doing it slowly, so he's able to retain his speed that you alluded to. But he can stand and strike and mix it up as a heavy hitter now as well. It's going to be interesting to see if his team with Callum Newman, what form that takes. But one thing that JJ Gale knows for sure is that he needs to make these opportunities count, and this is a huge opportunity against, like you say, one of your favorite wrestlers to watch, because of, I think, again, I love to watch Gabriel Kidd because of his explosiveness. He can go from 0 to 100 so quick. He's got cardio for days. He's well conditioned. he's had these techniques drilled into him at the LA dojo, which means that he's as technically, as fundamentally sound as they come. There's very, very little holes in his game, and now he's focused, he's determined. He made a statement at Seasons Beating saying, "I am back," and he wants to make an assault towards the undisputed British Heavyweight Championship. We've spoken about the Great O'Khan, the undisputed British Heavyweight Champion. What a match that could be between the LA Dojo, LA Dojo's Gabriel Kidd, the United Empire's Great O'Khan. Of course, Great O'Khan, a product of the New Japan Dojo. There's already that element of competitiveness there between those two sides. Anyway, this could be a big step towards that. And Gabriel Kidd doesn't want wrestlers making a name off of his back, off of his hard work. And that's exactly what JJ Gale's got the opportunity to do this Sunday. But Gabe Kidd's almost an impossible proposition. How do you tackle a match? Do you go in 100 miles an hour because you know Gabe Kidd can match you? Do you try to strike with him? You know Gabe Kidd can match you. Do you try to grapple with him? You know Gabe Kidd can match you. It's just almost the impossible proposition. So I'm like I say, I'm interested to see how this contest goes. I think if anyone's up for the challenge, it's JJ Gale. And like I say, this is one of those unique first-time matches you can only see in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And this is one of those matches, I'm sure these two men are going to become big, big stars in the sport of professional wrestling. And in years to come, you'll be looking back at this as one of those classic matches, on this career route of both men. And before they were stars, or whatever. They're stars now, but they're going to be mega stars. This is going to be one of those contests that we look back on in years to come. I'm absolutely sure of that.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those matches that ends up being a gem in everyone's vault, in everyone's video library. And finally, we come to one of the most highly anticipated matches on this card, fresh off his show-stealing performance at Wrestle Kingdom. How can anyone say this man isn't just the best professional wrestler on the planet? It's the United Empire's Will Ospreay taking on the Pride of Wales, Eddie Dennis. And we already know this is going to be an exciting match, but it's got that little bit of extra spice because we saw those scathing words from Will Ospreay on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, look, Will Ospreay called me this time. And I was more surprised than anyone because, I was surprised at the time, but then I was like, it's Will Ospreay. How can you expect anything less? I want to stress that every opportunity we get to see Will Ospreay compete is one that we shouldn't take for granted. He's, like you say, arguably the best wrestler in the world. Without a doubt, no argument is in the conversation of best wrestler in the world. Few men have had the body of work he had in 2022. Few men have ever had a body of work like Will Ospreay's 2022. He's already started 2023 with one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time. But
we aren't even a week into 2023 and we'll set the benchmark.
I know. And Will Ospreay, look, it seems crazy to say, look, he's already carved his own legacy. But Will Ospreay is a legacy wrestler and he wants to keep pushing. He wants to keep setting records, and he wants to be the benchmark. And we know Will Ospreay has got a chip on his shoulder because we know, look, let's make no bones about it. We're not going to sit here and pretend that the last 3 years of NXT UK didn't happen, right? He made a statement when we went off air at our anniversary weekend, which we may dig out the archives, where he spoke about the NXT UK roster. Now they've been released, welcoming them back in to Revolution Pro Wrestling, but saying, you better wipe your feet on the carpet and be prepared to do the dishes before you come back in. Now, the person who wanted to come back in before anyone else, the person who, I guess stayed true throughout was Eddie Dennis. You'd often see him lurking in the back of York Hall, Bethnal Green for some of those huge nights, whilst he was an NXT UK wrestler. But he's someone who, he was the first person to want to get involved the second that he was the NXT UK was done, and he made his return at the anniversary weekend at York Hall. And really, he's just fitted back in. He's training at the London School of Wrestling. He's one of our head trainers at the London School of Wrestling. And He's, you know, it's like he's never gone. But Will Ospreay doesn't forget, and I think that he wants to give that reminder to Eddie Dennis and perhaps light a fire underneath Eddie Dennis as well. You know, Eddie Dennis is at a bit of a crossroads in his career, um, and he needs to make every match count. And I think that this is again a huge opportunity for Eddie Dennis. But you know, you saw Will Ospreay say to Eddie Dennis on Twitter, you know, I'm going to teach you lessons that you could never have learned at a warehouse in Enfield. And what Will Ospreay's doing is he's trying to make this personal. And I think Will Ospreay may also be trying to take some frustrations out on Eddie Dennis as well. Will Ospreay firmly believes he bet on himself. You know, he had the opportunity to, again, not many people know this story, so it might be the first time it's being told, but he had an opportunity to go into the Cruiserweight Classic years ago. But if he'd gone into that, he wouldn't have been able to compete in Best of Super Juniors, which was his first tour with New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was at a crossroads. He had to make a decision, and he bet on himself. He went to New Japan Pro Wrestling, and he became the aerial assassin, and then he became the assassin, and then he became the GOAT. He's won everything there is to win. One of the best wrestlers in the world, and he feels he's carried the flag or the weight of British wrestling on his shoulders for a very long time. And I think in his mind, he does have a sense of resentment to people like Eddie Dennis stepping back in. You know, I think he does want to welcome him in with open hands, but with open arms. But at the same time, he wants him to earn his spot back in Revolution Pro Wrestling. And I think Eddie Dennis at first was just excited about the opportunity to test himself against one of the very best wrestlers in the world. But the second Will Ospreay put that tweet out, I guess the gravity of the situation hit Eddie Dennis. And I think he's going to approach this contest very differently to the way he was planning on approaching it when the match was first announced. Like I say, any opportunity you get to see Will Ospreay compete is a privilege. This is an intriguing contest, a styles clash. How's Will Ospreay going to cope with the height and reach advantage of Eddie Dennis? We know Eddie Dennis can fly. We know Eddie Dennis can hit hard, but so can Will Ospreay. Said it before, I'll say it again. Styles make matches, and this is a main event to end all main events. What a way to kickstart 2023.
What a way to kickstart this year indeed. And if you want to be at that show, as we've said, the new home of tickets is revolutionprowrestling.com. And if you can't be there in person, RevPro on demand, where we're now streaming our shows live and you can get a free trial.
Yeah, absolutely. RevProOnDemand.com, so integral to our success. So if you like what we do, then please support us. You know, be it live tickets, be it shoprevpro.com for merchandise, or be it revproondemand.com to, you know, have access to our full video library, stuff being added all the time. And of course, those live streams, including this Sunday's event. It all kicks off 4:30 p.m. Bell time, UK time. And I promise you, it's going to be a big year for us. We can only do it the same way that we've been able to get through the last 10 years. We can only do it with your support. So please get involved early doors in this what promises to be a great year for Revolution Pro Wrestling. Support us, and we'll see you at the matches.